welcome to the 10 and 10 podcast. We are meeting with Lyndsey Hanna, Lyndsey. How many times do you have to spell that?
Every time. To the point that I just don't do it anymore. I just accept whatever someone gives me.
Yes, my mom's always like, give your child the easiest name possible, and she gave me Rachel, and you know how many times I have to spell Rachel? Like, oh, by the way, I'm the host, Rachel Martin. Forgot to add that. Anyways, happy to have you here. And you have your own amazing company that's new, and I love the name, Northstar HR.
Yes.
Which is so creative, so I want to hear more about that. But the world of human resources is usually not the happiest time. Usually people go to HR complaining, aggravated, something. So there has to be a way that you keep positive in HR too.
Yeah, I think a lot of it it's down to understanding the role of HR in a company, right? So HR has this reputation of being the fun police, right?
Mm-hmm. It's true.
We're the rule enforcers, we're the all things bad, we're the ones who fire people.
Like the hall monitors.
Yeah, like, right, we're the party poopers. When done correctly,
okay,
HR is actually a partner to the business, and our real role is to help bring in the right people and support people while they're there to drive revenue and business goals. That's our real role.
Okay.
But so often we get put into this, well, I don't want to deal with this here. You know, I kind of call it like the pooper scooper role, where business leaders do all these not so fantastic things, and then HR is expected to go behind and clean it up. Mm-hmm. That's really not using us in an effective way. Yeah. Making us partners in the business.
Okay.
That's really what HR is supposed to be. And when you bring us in when things are going well, we can help keep it going well. Mm-hmm. By being able to see those potential things that are going to come up. Mm-hmm. We can fix it before it happens. Or we can help guide you in how to prevent it from even becoming a thing ever.
Yeah.
Or when it does happen, it's not that big a deal because we have a plan.
Yeah. Well, in human resources, I feel like it's always involved in almost business development as well. Kind of the education component, keeping the employees happy. Like, it's not just he said something inappropriate to me, I'm going to go to HR. I shouldn't say he, I'm a woman, that's why I go to he, but can be women, it can be, but it's just like, they're not always the bad police, like you said.
Yeah, and one of I would say the biggest misconception by employees about HR is that HR actually has no authority to make decisions. We are advisors to business leaders. That's what our real role is. If you want to boil it down, we're an advisor.
Yeah.
So if you get fired by your business leader made the choice to do that termination. And there's a better than average chance that HR probably said, hey, you really shouldn't do this. We should do 5 other things before we fire this person.
And they still
they didn't listen to us, and they chose to fire you anyway. Mm-hmm. We don't fire people. Yeah. That's not what we do. We don't hire people either. We make recommendations. The business leader either takes it or doesn't.
Interesting.
We have very little, if any, actual decision-making ability. We are advisors. We guide. We provide information. We provide direction. We provide recommendations. And it's up to the business leaders on whether or not those things actually happen or not.
Yeah. Well, and you started Northstar HR like, what, 6 months ago?
Yeah.
So you're not working for a company doing the HR department like most HR kind of people are. So where does your role come in Northstar HR?
Yeah, so Northstar HR is based on the idea that employee experience is our North Star. When you use employee experience as the filter through which you make decisions, you build stronger companies because people stay and they're engaged and they care and they work harder, all those things. When we're balanced, there's no power struggle between the two. That's what creates a really great employee experience. So part of what I do at Northstar HR is this new fancy terms called fractional HR.
Okay.
And fractional is just fancy words for part-time. That's really what it means.
Okay.
So I am a part-time HR person at a company.
Okay.
So my clients hire me to manage HR for them. They're typically going to be companies that don't have in-house HR.
So smaller kind of startup companies. Or
Smaller, usually under 100.
Okay.
They
employees.
Partner. Under 100 employees. Yes, under 100 employees. And they partner with me to be their HR department without having the cost associated with someone with my skill level. So to hire me outright as a W-2 employee would cost you about $150,000 a year plus taxes and benefits. Mm-hmm. In a fractional capacity, I work with multiple clients on a part-time basis per one, a fraction of my time for a fraction of the price, hence where the name fractional came from.
Yeah.
And I support each of those businesses in their own right from an HR perspective with not only the day-to-day kind of task level stuff, but also with the strategic and the planning and those higher level things as well.
And almost like a consultant. So it's like a lot of companies, especially on the smaller side, might not need an HR person at all times. Correct. And so they need to either do something else in their role or like what you said. And I think that's the future. It's like working remote, that's what has become the future in a sense. And so maybe for these smaller up and coming businesses, which a lot of people are starting their own business these days, it's having somebody like you come in, which way to be thinking ahead of the game.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. And what I've discovered is that most companies that get afraid of fractional, what they end up doing is they give some HR and something that has absolutely nothing to do with HR, right? Yeah. So it's usually HR and accounting that end up getting partnered together. Nothing but love to my finance and accounting friends, but HR is not their thing. Most of them absolutely positively hate it. Yeah. And so they just kind of tack it into something like, oh, here, and since you're doing payroll in accounting or finance, while you're at it, here, you can onboard employees and you can offboard them and you can manage benefits. And they're all like, I don't know any of this. Yeah. I do. So you can hire in a fractional capacity, let your accounting finance people do the thing that lights them up and let someone else be in their expertise and their zone of genius, which for me is HR, helping.
And numbers and accounting and paying bills is very different than human interaction as far as caring about. You have to be the non-personable person sometimes because you can't say, yes, you're right. You can't say, no, you're wrong. You're just kind of that middleman.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. A whole new version of Switzerland.
Right. Exactly. Well, you were talking about earlier this saying of, I don't know, and how that doesn't play a role in HR anymore like people would think. It's just like, oh, I didn't know that was how it goes. And it just moves on. That's not an excuse anymore. And this was very exciting that I heard this. Yeah. So please expand.
Yeah. So the government loves to find people. And it has nothing to do, right, because one of the biggest pushbacks I get is, oh, well, if so-and-so is in the White House, no, it has nothing to do with that. Politics have absolutely nothing to do with enforcement of compliance. The laws are the laws regardless of who's in the White House. So let's get past that. Once we get past that, the fact that you didn't know that XYZ was a thing doesn't stop you from getting fined by the government. So when you get fined and you look at them and you go, well, I didn't know that was a thing, they're going to go, tough, pay your bill. Yeah. A friend of mine's an HR consultant in California. She has a client who misclassified 3 people, was paying them as a 1099. They should have been W-2 employees. Super common error that gets made. That client got fined by the federal DOL $1.7 million. Wow. And they haven't even been fined by the state of California yet. I bet that one's going to be closer to $3 million by the time the state. Like that kind of stuff. That's a big mistake. That can shut your business down for most businesses. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't have a cool $5 million just hanging out somewhere Definitely to pay the government in fines. You probably don't either. So instead of paying this hard-earned money to the government, you already pay your taxes. Let's not pay more money than we need to. Yeah. It is way cheaper, way more cost-effective, and way less stressful to hire a fractional like me to help teach you these things that you don't know and or just manage them for you. Yeah. Than it is for you to try to figure it out on your own. This, mess around and find out is expensive in the HR space, and I do not recommend it. No, it's like you have a tax person that does your taxes, and they turn them in, and they're like, actually, this was all wrong. It's like, oh, you can't say sorry, I didn't know. You have to take credit for it of I messed up. Okay, what do I owe you? And so I think it's very smart. I created my businesses of I am not going to be the expert in everything, and HR and finance is for sure not my expertise, but you have to work with people that are good at it and have experience like you, and then at the same time are passionate about it and think of it in lots of different ways. And I think that sounds to me like that's kind of why you created Northstar HR. Yeah, I saw so much of, when I worked in corporate for almost 15 years now. And in doing so, one of the things I always got super frustrated, right? I was like, why do you keep screwing this up? And then eventually when I finally cleared my head and I was like, oh, because we never taught you those things. Yeah. We just assumed that you knew, right? And what do we know about assuming? It makes an ass out of you and me. Can't say I don't know. So we just assumed by putting you in a leadership role. Congratulations. The day that we wrote your title as a leader, you all of a sudden overnight through osmosis got all this knowledge. No, that's not how it works. Yeah. So the ability to develop leaders, the ability to be strategic in HR, as well as handling those day-to-day task things, I hate dress codes with a fiery passion because it's probably the number one thing that people complain to me about. And I'm like, y'all,
I've been written up for a dress code HR, and I'm like, seriously? I was just wearing baggier clothes.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm sorry that those girls' heels, while super cute, are making too much noise on the floor and it doesn't allow you to focus. Like, yes, I do spend time doing things like that.
Oh my goodness.
It's part of the gig, right?
Yeah.
But like, let's be smart about it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know it's not a legal defense. Yeah. I'm not an attorney, but every attorney I've ever met will tell you that. And it is way cheaper to have that professional there to support you, to take care of you, to help you dodge those things and be there if something happens.
Yeah. That sounds like okay, before we go, what's a really quick, funny HR story?
So most of the things that I think are ridiculous, or that you guys would think is ridiculous, is like a day that ends in Y to me. But probably one of my best interview stories. I was interviewing once when I was working in hospitality, and a guy showed up to an interview for a forklift driver dressed head to toe, no joke, as Bozo the Clown. Like, face paint, the shoes, the wig, including the red nose. I'm like, bro, you couldn't have left the red nose in the car.
Oh my goodness.
So,
what was the reason behind this?
He had a part-time job working as a clown, more power to him.
Sure.
And he had a gig right after his interview. And I will own up that when I took him on the tour of the building, as I walked past the bathrooms, I went, and this is the bathrooms where you can change clothes for another job if you need to. I couldn't resist it. Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, the red nose, man, even the red nose.
Red nose.
Yeah, that's where we were.
Crazy. Clowns it's always a new experience, it sounds like.
Every day.
Oh my God, I love it. Well, you can't look at it as a I don't know what to expect day and always be disappointed in that. So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I would love to stay and continue to hear about these HR stories, which we all have our own. But yeah, thank you again so much for joining us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yay. And thank you everybody for joining in on the 10 and 10 podcast. And stay tuned. We got some more people coming up next.